Last year, I got an electric scooter that I love, so this year I thought I'd step it up and try an electric bike. What's happening, Panda Nation? Peter Von Panda here. I'm with my GoTrax electric bike. Just bought this. Look at these specs, man. This is pretty cool. It will go up to 20 miles an hour. It will go up to 15 miles, and it will carry someone even as big as me. And the thing that I really love about this is that we probably all like biking, but sometimes you hit that hill, sometimes you hit that wall, sometimes you hit that exhaustion level where you just don't want to go any further. And I'm really curious to see if this will take you that extra distance, get you up that hill, maybe get you up to speed faster so that you're not stalling traffic, and if it will just be everything that I'm looking for in a bike and electric transportation. So let's get it unboxed, set up, and try it out. So I just pulled it out of the box here. It didn't take more than a minute, and this is how it comes right out of the box. I just want to show it to you so that you can know what to expect when you are unboxing this. So I am actually pretty impressed, one, by how much it is put together already. It definitely looks like this front wheel is going to have to go on there. We're going to have to attach the handlebars. The seat isn't on there, but everything here in the back looks like it is set up. And then it looks like we have a box of hardware. I will also say that the other thing that I was surprised about is that when I lifted this thing up, I was worried that this might be really heavy because of the electrics as well as the battery in here, but it's really not that heavy. In fact, it might be a little heavier than a standard bike, but it certainly doesn't feel like that. In fact, just grabbing it by the top and lifting it out by myself was no problem at all. So let's get this thing set up. Okay, so everything is unwrapped here. First of all, I want to show you that what I'm surprised about here is the charger is actually pretty small. It's like a single prong charger with a dual prong that goes to the outlet and a small charging block. Looks like a laptop, which is kind of nice. And so that will obviously charge a battery, which is somewhere in there. We get the pedals right here. We also get a little tool kit. This will be important because we're going to have to back things out. And then we have the quick disconnect front wheel axle right here too. So, and then most everything else is already put together. So we are going to put the handlebars on first, then I'm going to put the wheel on there so I can set it up, and then I'll put the seat onto the post, and I think that's really all we have to do. I will say that just looking at some of this stuff, I'm pretty impressed because it looks like we have some keys here. A lot of these things are tied on with these wire ties, so you will need kind of a pair of scissors to cut those off. So this is something that will secure it right there. We also get a light here, so that ties into the battery, so it looks like that should be a pretty bright LED light. So you get a headlight on there, which is pretty cool. You can see the brake caliper there. We have disc brakes on this little bad boy, front and rear, so that is pretty amazing. So everything about this looks great and screams super high quality. I mean, even look at the shocks on the front of this bad boy. So, you know, that's going to make this a smooth rider. So smooth. Enjoying the smoothness. Kind of like this guy. Don't hate the player, hate the game. All right, let's get her on. So the first thing I'm going to do here is, you can see these little Allen screws. I'm going to make sure that those are backed out. Take this off so I can put this on. You can see that the neck here has to be pointed forward away from the bike. So one thing I want to point out here is that this piece here on the front fork has to be forward. And this, to me, this little neck here looks like it is backward. So I think we're going to use this to loosen this up and swivel this around so that it is pointed forward. And then we will put on the handlebars. You can see those little scoring marks in there. That's going to help you center it, as well as make sure that it stays in place once you tighten these things down. And then you've got the Allen key right here, and just start tightening these in. All right, handlebars are on, so I'm going to put it in the seat. This looks like it's going to be pretty simple. It's a quick release, which means you could take the seat with you if you don't want it stolen. Might be nice to put a little bag or something under there so you can take a cable or repair kit with you. So obviously that's pretty easy. Now let's get back to the front fork here. All right, so we got to get the front wheel on, and so I'm going to take the axle here and I'm going to unscrew this end. It looks like there's this little spring here, and I think that's going to go against this side. So you can see that this little washer here has a curved end where this little tightening lever will kind of pivot in there, and I think this little spring is meant to go inside there. So we will take this axle now, we'll push it through here all the way, just like this, and now what we get is it's sticking out the back end right here. And what I can do here is then screw this back on. So then we just need to thread this cap back on here, because what I think we will do is we will push this in, and that will give us a little slot here that will drop one side of the spoke in, and then we will put the other spoke in here, and then we will tighten it down with this little lever. Trial and error, but I think maybe this is easiest if you put this thing on upside down. So I got that lined up, drop that in, makes it pretty easy that way. Now I'm going to tighten in. Now I'm going to tighten up this backside with the lever on this side loose. So I'm going to tighten that down. So I get it as thumb tight as possible. And then once that's tight, then I can push this lever down, which is actually up because the bike is upside down, and lock it down. That puts a little extra tension on it. Now I'm curious if this will spin, and voila, it does. All right, so far that is looking pretty good for a Muppet that doesn't know anything about bikes. All right, let's continue. All right, now I want to get this front light attached to this like bracket up here. So I'm going to take out this screw, start it with this Allen key, and just remove that. And looks like that'll pivot up and down. You can aim it, give yourself a good throw, keep yourself safe, keep the road illuminated, which is nice. I'm going to kind of move it up to the highest position here. And that looks sorted. And what I love about that is that's a small thing here, but what it does is it saves you from having to buy another one of these little safety lights for your bike. So pretty cool that that is included and will run off the power of the bike. Now we just have to put on these pedals. They are marked L and R. So what you will notice here is that they are threaded in opposite directions, so that as you're pedaling they will only tighten in and they won't come out, which is kind of nice. So I'm just going to put the left in here, start them by hand, and then use the tool that's included here to finish them up and tighten them down. All right, so that's it. It's put together, but I don't want to actually do biking. I want to do electric biking. And what we have up here is where the battery is. And if I just hit this little button right there, looks like that indicator light says red. So I think it is not charged. So that gives me a chance to charge the battery as well as fill up the tires. So I've got the keys here. And now looks like it just kind of pivots out here. So that is cool. And now I can take this inside and charge it up. And right on the bottom here are the charge ports. So I'm going to get that plugged in. Looks like we have a power switch. Turn it on, turn it off, and then the power plug right there. Cool, let's get it charged up. Okay, so the battery's been charging up overnight, so I think she is fully charged. And before I put this in the bike, I think I'm going to switch that on. I think we need power. And then you can see the connectors right here. We'll go into those connectors down there. So I'm going to drop it in like this. To get the battery in, you have to rotate the key like that. That will open up that lock, and then you can push the sucker all the way down and then lock it back up. All right, and then just to test it, yep, looks like we got full charge right there. So pretty cool. I'm gonna go up here to the control panel now, and I'm gonna hit this on-off button. Hold that down for a second. Looks like we've got power indicator right here. We've got the mode. So I'm going to go ahead and set this to low to start. And then we've got all our controls over here. So I think once we get going, this, ooh, it's moving already. Wow, cool. So you don't even have to be moving to get this going. You can just push the throttle right here. This little Shimano gear shifter is really nice because I can shift down by pushing up, but I can shift up by just hitting this button. All right, then we get the bell right there. So let's take this thing for a ride. All right, so let's try this thing out. I'm going to helmet up here, safety third. I say that because safety is not the top priority in this case. Fun is the top priority in this case. Safety is a distant third. Otherwise, I would just sit at home inside a bunch of bubble wrap and never do anything. But that's not what we're doing today. We're going for a bike ride. Look here, we've got the little button for the headlight, which is really nice. And then the mode down here, I think you will just be in regular biking, pedaling mode. But if I hit this, we can go to kind of a low, medium, and then super fast, speedy, turbo right there. So let's just start here on the low because I want to definitely check that out first. Now, one thing I will say here is that you don't have to get this sucker up to speed. You can just hit the throttle right there and the bike will start going. So, all right, let's try her out. Ooh, I can feel that front shock compressing, so I can actually feel that working already. All right, let's try this sucker out. All right, so I'm just pedaling here. Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, I'm in the light mode here, and it's actually assisting. So if you don't have this on, I'm just gonna actually turn this off, right, like this. And now I can just pedal, just like a normal bicycle. And that seems to be just fine. But as soon as you go into the mode, you are going to get some assistance. So, man, I'm pedaling and I can feel it assisting me. And if I let off the pedaling, it seems to stop assisting. But man, as soon as I start pedaling, it starts helping. And I think if I let off like this and now just hit the throttle button, it's just going to keep going, man. I'm just rolling on electricity. All right, I'm gonna hit medium here. Now hit the throttle. Ooh, ooh, Dude, all right, this thing is going pretty fast. So this is the medium speed here. Wow, I'm not pedaling at all, just FYI. I am here for the ride only. Off the throttle. All right, on the brakes. Spin around here. Oh man, this thing is fast though. I mean, I'm only on the medium speed. All right, now at the end there, I kind of came down a hill. So I'm kind of curious if I can get up the hill on electric power, and I'm going to give it the most assistance we can here. So there we go, on the throttle. Ooh, man, it does give you a little kick in the back though. All right, I'm on total electric power. No pedaling whatsoever. And I'm going up this hill here. Yeah, baby. All right, now I'm just gonna hold this down. I want to pedal too. Yeah, wow, that is awesome, dude. I feel kind of like Superman because you're putting in effort, but it's just magnifying it so much more than you would normally get if you were just pedaling on your own. Now I'm on the flat here, and dude, this thing is cruising. Oh, yeah, baby. It is funny when you're even in the light mode, kind of that lowest mode, and you start pedaling, and all of a sudden you feel like you aren't pedaling. You feel like the gears, you feel like the motor just starts kicking in. So I'm here at a dead stop, and let's here crossing the street. And one of the things that's hard on a bicycle is getting going from a stop. But man, this just like launches you pretty quickly here. Unfortunately, due to the wind noise, I am going to voice over some of my thoughts about riding on this bicycle. And the first thing here is that you get all of these speeds because it's a regular, geared bicycle. But what's funny about the electric motor is that many times you don't even need those gears, because even if you're in a gear that's really hard, a gear that you wouldn't normally be in from a standstill, the motor just helps so much that it's almost like you just stay in one gear. I noticed that I wasn't even really looking at the gears or changing them. There were a couple times I changed them just to change them, but I really didn't have to, especially when you are, moving even a little bit. Pretty much any gear you're in, as soon as you start stepping into the pedals, the bike just kind of kicks you from behind and pushes you along a little further. The other thing that I will say here is that I have had a number of electric scooters, and I really love them because they're small and compact. But to be really honest, the scooters that go 18 miles an hour or faster, I've had some that go up to 27 miles an hour, and that's really just too fast. There's a couple of reasons for that. One, you're standing up, so your center of gravity is pretty high. You're not really flexing your legs. You're not bending your legs to absorb the impact a lot. You're kind of riding them and standing on them. The wheels are very small, so they don't really take dips and ruts and potholes very well. And when they get squirrely, because the wheelbase isn't very long, man, they just start getting sideways really quickly. So honestly, having really fast scooters is kind of a waste because you really can't ride them honestly safely. But a bike is much different. You've got yourself kind of in that crouched position so that you can take the impacts. You're kind of leaning into the wind. The wheels are very big, so they absorb more impact and more undulations in the road. The wheelbase is longer, so it's just a smoother, safer ride at high speeds, which is really nice. So a bike is the perfect vehicle for having that added power. In fact, that some bicyclists can go really, really fast under their own steam. What this just allows you to do as an average bicyclist to get up to those speeds, putting in less effort and still getting that same effect. And so you can go very fast on a bicycle and still feel very, very safe, which is really awesome. And while I did test it a little bit with pedaling here and there, I really wanted to test this as transportation that was powered. And so most of this video, and really up to this point, I wasn't even using the pedals at all. I am just cruising now on very low throttle. If I just go ahead and hit the mode up to the top here and then punch this button. Again, woohoo, yeah, baby. Yeah, I feel like it's a moped. And I'm not pedaling at all. I've got a slight uphill incline here. Now, this little loop that I am riding on here, I have actually walked and driven a number of times. It's actually just about a 2-mile loop. And so what I realized here is how quickly it was going by. And one of the things that dawned on me with something like this is that not only is it just for fun, I mean, it is a blast. It's a blast to not necessarily need to put in that energy biking and still get the wind rushing your hair and the open air effect. And it's kind of like driving a convertible. But not only are you experiencing that from a fun perspective, but it actually can be really useful if you commute to work. So for a lot of us, and for me, when I was going to work, I had a 7-mile commute each way, and it was through residential areas. And so it wasn't like on a highway or heavy traffic areas. And one of the things that you could do, and people did do, was actually bike to work. Now, there are challenges with biking to work in that, one, you want to wear, your business casual clothes. You don't want to do it in a suit. Sometimes if it's raining, you're going to get caught out in the rain unless you can bike really quickly. Sometimes after work, you're just wiped out and you don't really feel like getting on a bike. And so you really have to commit to it on the front end and the back end. But something like this allows you to bike when you want. If you want that exercise, if you want to get some muscles moving and blood pumping, then this is a great way to do it. But also, if you are just drained at work, you had a long day, you're tired, maybe you even did something at lunch, whatever it might be, then you can just hit that throttle button and let that battery power take you along the road, sail you home, get you home quickly. If you want to pedal on top of that, what I noticed here is that if I put it in the fast gear and pedal my heart out, man, this thing just flies, and you never really feel like you have a lot of resistance. I mean, as you're pedaling, you can feel that you're adding something to the bike speed, but it's not hard, and it absolutely goes faster than the electric power alone. So I don't know what it got up to. I didn't have a speedometer on it, but man, you could absolutely fly on this thing. I suspect that if you have people that are really good bikers that do this regularly on street tires, then you could really keep up with them, and it's not going to be a burden on them to go biking with you because you can keep up. You can keep up on the hills. You can accelerate very quickly into traffic, which is really nice. Now, the other thing I wanted to say about this is that a lot of bikes can be very expensive. So my buddy Chris buys some really expensive bikes, carbon fiber, tunes his bike, buys a lot of accessories for it, and you can absolutely get a standard bike in the $2,000-$3,000 range, which is just kind of incredible to me. But one of the things that my other buddy Ian said about this bike is, hey, I thought you were getting an electric bike. And I said, yeah, this is. And he's like, oh, it just looks like a regular bike. And the thing about this is that between the weight and the looks, it doesn't really telegraph itself as an electric bike or like a moped or something like that. It looks just like a regular bike. And for that, I think it's a really, really good value because it's not thousands of dollars. It's under $1,000. It's under $700. And yet you're getting a really good on-road and off-road bike. So I did ride this around in the yard. The shock worked really great for absorbing bumps and, the dips in the yard. The tires, while they are a little large, they kind of look like mountain bike tires, are certainly not like the fat tires with the knobby tread like you might get on a real off-road bike, but they're not quite as smooth as like a street or racing bike, but you get the best of both worlds. It's got a really good traction and yet feels smooth on the road, but obviously can handle the off-road. On top of that, you get that in-hub rear motor, which obviously works great, which I'm demonstrating now and just really enjoy. You get the thumb throttle, you get the front headlight, you get the Shimano gear set, you get this beautiful black frame on the bike. Everything about this is super nice. You get disc brakes. Obviously, it has a big battery, 20-mile range. I wouldn't be surprised if that's underreported because as I did about 2.5 miles, almost 3 miles on this bike, it didn't register that on the battery at all. So it didn't show me like I was down a quarter or anything like that on the battery charge. So man, it just flew. It is a blast to ride. I tell you what, after I got done with the review, I showed it to some of my friends, let them go out and ride it, and they just kind of wanted to ride it up and down the block. Who wants to just go riding up and down the block a few dozen times? It's pretty amazing. So if you want to pick up this GoTrax electric bike, maybe you just wanted a bike anyway, I think that this is a great alternative to just picking up a regular bike because you have that electric power when you want it. But let's say you go on a trip, let's say you're thinking about commuting to work, let's say you live in a hilly area like a San Francisco or the coast, this is something that can give you that extra little boost. It can keep you going, it can help you carry more stuff, pack your lunch, your gear, whatever you want. And man, under $700 for this bike is amazing. So I don't know, I might get another one of these because they are just really, really awesome. If you can afford that kind of gift, it would really make someone's day. But if you are into traveling, exploring your area, biking, then you have got to pick yourself up one of these. They are just really, really amazing. So I will put a link to this GoTrax electric bicycle in the description below. Peter Von Panda, out.
We can discover more and explore so much deeper. We can live better than
see if that this